those of us who can remember, maybe not you, the present-day students, the conditions under which students before you attended the Dominica State College. Today, we have not only provided for the increase in the number of students who are attaining tertiary education at the State College, but the facilities under which you are conducting your studies. Some of you, I'm sure, remember the container days when some of us were cramped, some of you were cramped into containers, and that was your classroom. Today you have brand new, spanking buildings, thanks to our friends from the People's Republic of China. I couldn't help notice, too, the beautiful highway that you have leading up to the college. And this one is probably more recent, so many of us will remember this one, the conditions then and the conditions now. And we really have to thank the Ministry of Public Works and the government for continuing to make learning more conducive and more comfortable for students of the Dominica State College. I really needed to make this point because it really dawned on me just joining from where we were to where we are and what it took us to get to where we are. And we hope we'll continue to remember those days, the past and the present, and think seriously as to what kind of future that we would like for ourselves and how we're going to ensure that we guarantee the future of our students, of our next generations. This official handing over ceremony for the restoration of priority buildings in Dominica, following the passage of Maria, really marks a major milestone in the journey of building a more resilient country. And to say to you that this is not the end, but this is just another step as we continue to rebuild and reconstruct what I always say is a brand new Dominica, which calls for all hands, all hearts, and all minds to make the continuation of this journey productive and pleasurable. But we cannot hide or shadow the contribution made by the People's Republic of China in getting us to this state where we are right now. And to say to you that this is not the first time when the People's Republic of China really coming to the aid of Dominica in very difficult times and in very difficult circumstances. And Ambassador, we want to thank you and to have you express our gratitude to your government and your people for they themselves having to make great sacrifices to ensure that Dominica can be in a better place. Excellency, this ceremony here today, like I've said, marks a very important and symbolic gesture to our country by your government. And we have to thank you and thank God for taking us thus far and continuing to give us the energy that we're going to be requiring as we move along trying to fix this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we have taken time to reflect as leadership of this country and to think of how close we were to complete devastation of this beautiful island. And in a matter of 1 year, we'll all admit that we have come a very long way. And sometimes we take these things for granted because they're saying in Dominica that we have short memories. I don't like the part of version of this. We have very short memories and we take everything for granted. And we never take time to think of the architects, of the people, of the personalities, of the organizations, of the countries that make these things happen. because we know there are many other countries who suffer similar situations, and they're still struggling to get off their feet, to stand up. But in Dominica, we're virtually running before development. And I'm sure that you may well want to believe that God has designated a special place for this beautiful island because of the beautiful people and the relationships that we have been able to cultivate over the many, many, many years. One of the world's leading philosophers, Melody Beatty, reminds us that gratitude turns out, and I quote, "Gratitude turns out what we have enough into more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It makes sense of the past, brings peace for today, and creates a great vision for tomorrow." Close quotes. This is fitting advice and awakening to both the hesitant and the grateful ones within the country. And it may be useful then to remind the nation of the colossal scale of damage which the country suffered following Maria. Maybe our Prime Minister's description of the impact to the United Nations when he addressed them a few days after the hurricane was what really spurred on all these institutions and organizations to come to our support. And hence the bold pronouncement to the world that Dominica would be on the front line of climate change, and that we have no option but to be firm in our belief that we will make Dominica the first climate resilient country in the world. The damage and losses impacted tremendously on our economy. In financial terms, the magnitude of the devastation sustained was equivalent to 226% of GDP. That's roughly $3.54 billion. Putting that in practical terms, and to obtain a better understanding of the sheer burden inherited and required to overcome in order to rebuild this country, the GDP can be viewed as the productive capacity of the country. This illustrates the significance of securing the assistance of development partners and friendly governments in overcoming the resource strains and constraints in rebuilding the country. The aim of the Commonwealth of Dominica China Disaster Restoration Project, funded through the South-South Assistance, was to support the restoration of roofing on priority buildings following the impact of the hurricane. The project was sponsored mainly through the People's Republic of China, who provided material for construction, and in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program for its execution. And we have heard that the funds were in the tune of some $3 million US. Some of the key plant outputs included local and regional procurement of roofing material, procurement of tools and equipment for roof restoration, training, and proper roof installment in keeping with the Build Back Better concept, and to support the implementation of building codes and quality assurance. One main target of this project was for direct impact on about 5,000 people, while seeking to contribute to at least 3 of the MDGs. That's one, reduction of poverty or elimination of poverty, quality education, and sustainable cities and communities. We have heard of the assessments by the UNDP, and we have also heard of the successful implementation and the partners which form part of this rebuilding efforts and this rebuilding exercise. We need to recognize at this point in time the contribution of the Republic of Cuba, Venezuela, and UNDP, and to Cuba specifically for allowing us to have access to some 80 of the highly qualified and experienced construction professionals, including their engineers, qualified engineers, and other construction professionals. The Cuban team landed on the 8th of June 2018 and started re-roofing the 6 buildings. And this 6 buildings, I understand it, would really be somewhere in the region of 65,000 square feet, which would average maybe about 130 average homes in Dominica. So the job at the State College is averaging about 130 buildings in Dominica. And so you can well appreciate the magnitude of the project that was undertaken at the Dominica State College under this friendship agreement with Dominica and China. And as you have heard, it was done within the building codes and the building standards. And so we expect that you could feel comfortable. May God forbid another hurricane, you, the college students, will be able to return to your classrooms as long as we've cleared the streets and tidy up the environment. This would in fact be a very major advantage as you continue to pursue your studies and look to cement your future and to come back to make a contribution to this, your island home. Your Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this gesture of the government and people of China can be seen as yet another indicator of this great country's commitment to assist Dominica in the development of our human resource to the level that is required to function in this very competitive regional and international environment. It is my pleasure and honor, therefore, on behalf of the government and people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to extend heartfelt acknowledgement and kindest considerations to the government and the people of the Republic of Cuba and China and Venezuela, to the Engineers Without Borders, the United Nations Development Program, for your benevolence and solidarity. I hope and pray that even after, and I've been advised that it may take us, at the pace at which we work in this country, maybe 5 years to get back to where we were to our pre-Maria period. Nationally, it's like 8 years, but because of the kind of friendship that we have cultivated, we have given ourselves 5 years to make this a reality. We're going to be in this for the long haul. I want to appeal to you, the students of the Dominica State College, that your country needs you now more than ever before. We will continue as a government to provide the resources, infrastructure, financial and otherwise, to ensure that you can complete your studies. And we'll also provide, as we've been doing, for further studies overseas. I'm sure you know by now that any one of you and every one of you, the college students, looking forward to attending further universities. The opportunities are there. There are many who have walked the road before you. But always remember, somebody else's resources is paying for it. But we have no problems with that. All we ask is that you continue to give your country an opportunity, to give your government an opportunity to continue to doing the great works that you have been doing on your behalf. And I know that there will come a point in time when you will say thanks in a big way, when you will reward the government, and when you will recognize the hard work that this government is doing, and will continue to give us more hard work to do. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.